Hey. Oh, that's loud. One moment.
I was waiting for you to come and be like, "Hey, everybody, how's it going?"
No. I'm trying to keep it together. What's going on, guys? Nice show. Good show. Fun. Nice hat. We shall talk about that since the three of us are on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But just right off the bat, I just want to say I've been like, and I haven't talked to either of you about this, like fighting with myself about something I want to do, something that I like feel like I need to do for like my own mental health. If I'm breaking out, by the way, someone let me know. I just seen a Connect bar come up, so and like it's funny because I was talking to Dean Renner about this today, and then towards the end of your guys' show, I think it was Zach that brought up the whole, how TV shows, in his case, Friends, like it's not just a TV show; it's something that got him through some of the darkest times of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that gets enough recognition in today's space because everybody's too busy going, well, this movie's great, or this movie's crap, or I didn't like this, or I can't believe you did this to that character, or, I hate you, or fuck J.J. Abrams, or fuck Rian Johnson. And when it comes down to it, though, regardless if we like the storyline or certain elements of it, that movie could make the biggest difference in someone else's life. And I don't know if we think about it that way enough. At least I know I don't, and I definitely want to try to start doing that.
Yeah, I've heard of people who say that like the Kelly Marie Tran stuff, especially like the Asian representation that you get in The Last Jedi, means more to them than the rest of the story could possibly hope to. Just to have that strong female Asian character, doing stuff in one of the biggest franchises in cinema history, like just to have that representation meant more than anything that happened to Luke or Rey or anybody else. So, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big war going on from fans in the fact that a lot of people are upset about representation and that it's being overrepresented. I don't feel that, but a lot of people feel like, oh, well, every show they have to fit in an LGBTQ element. You got to fit in people of every race. You got to have strong female characters. And it does happen. They definitely do that. Hollywood is definitely like, hey, this is a thing that we want to see right now, or that everybody wants to see, or that social media is big on. My problem is that in my life, in my real life, I know people who are trans, gay, of every, like I see people of all different colors in my life. And so I think they should be in movies. And I mean, we definitely don't want to get into this big thing. That's not the point of the show. But I think that when you get movies that have characters like in that, it's so much more important to those people. Like these movies can mean so much to people by just highlighting characters that are these things. And I think that's a really important thing. I think that's something that really gets cinema or TV shows can be so much more important to someone, or people with different mental what would you want to call them, mental health issues, I guess. It's also shown way more positively today than it would be to have a crazy character, or like have a schizophrenic character. Is definitely has to be a murderer or something like that in previous types of shows, whereas now you're going to show mental health in a different way. And I mean, we're going to get probably mental health in a different way with the Moon Knight series as well. So
I hope
seems
so.
like that might deal with a lot of interesting concepts like that. But yeah,
I like what you brought up there. I think you said, the show's not about that or whatever, but like for me, the discussion that we're having right now is about that stuff. And I just want to let the audience that's tuning in now know, like, I know we have a lot of fun banter on a lot of stuff, but this discussion here, we're going to get into some subject material that maybe some people don't want to listen to. And I understand that. But I do want to spend some time, whether it's on this channel or on some other media outlet, talking about, a lot of this stuff, and not just this stuff, but stuff outside of fandom too. I think we all need an outlet, because if you, keep yourself closed up so long, you're going to end up snapping on the wrong people, and nobody wants that. And nobody should want that anyway. But I just want to touch on something that Kieran said. There's so many, and you see it all the time now, where a movie or a TV show, not all of them, but some of them, feel like everybody needs to be represented. And I don't think it should be that way. I honestly don't. And my reasoning for that is, okay, so if you are, if you're gay, do you want to see every single TV show ever made to include a gay character? Or do you want to, like, for example, Show X, it's a sitcom, it's 22 minutes long. They never, let's say they never address, anything but straight males and females. Do you want your shoehorned into like 30 seconds of a TV show? Or do you want a TV show that represents what you're looking for, that's actually going to give it its due, and is not just looking for, hey, we clicked this one off on the checkboard, let's we have that person represented, or this group of individuals represented in 30 seconds of material? Or do you want something that's, for you and about you? For me anyways, one of the things that has me totally into Yellowstone is I have a native background, like a really big time native background in my family, and yet I don't know much about it. So watching Yellowstone has almost been like this eye-opening thing for me from that perspective. So I totally understand, though, if not everybody agrees with that take. I would like to hear what you guys have to say about it.
No, I mean, I'm on the total surprise, I'm on the total opposite side of the fence. And the reason being is kind of like I said, maybe I'll elaborate on it a bit more, but maybe it's the things that I choose to do and my chosen vocation, and the fandoms and things that I am into. But I have never, I work at a place that has I've crossed paths with lots of people in the LGBTQ community. I can't, I work at a place that's diverse. I work at a school. Even in school, a lot of kids who are in grade 7, 8, you can see that they are, that they're living different lifestyles. And I think that these I think that all these minority groups and things like that are so much more prominent than people think. And I think that it's very important to represent these groups because they really are out there everywhere. There really are, like, I think a lot of people thought that trans people were not really like much of a thing, that you might never cross paths with a trans person, but there's a good chance you've crossed paths with a trans person like many times in your life and not known it. Cross paths with people who were gay or lesbian or bisexual or any of those things.
Reiterate something. I don't know if I came across the wrong way, so let me just clear something up. I'm not saying it's not important for people to be represented. I'm saying we all should know that there are either TV shows or movies out there that literally do it just for, okay, there's the check mark, and there's no purpose behind it whatsoever, and no screen time or dedication to any of it, and that's what frustrates me.
But I don't see that as a problem, because I think that if you're being realistic, then a lot of people, like, I don't think there needs to be a reason to explain why a character is gay. Like, we were talking about The Office. Oscar is gay in The Office, and Oscar doesn't. I mean, it shows that he like is interested in guys, and he talks about. But like, it really does not delve into him being gay all the time, or there's no reason for it to happen. So it could be something that just gets check marked off. But I think that that's representing the regular population. You probably, if you work in a space like that, like I worked in a bunch of welding shops, and yes, I worked with a bunch of old white dudes, and I don't think any of them were trans, and I don't think any of them would ever mention they were gay, because of I worked in a welding shop, and it was a terrible place to be if you were anything but that. And I left that type of place for that type of reason, because I didn't agree with the mentality of the people that were in that workspace. And now I work in a school. But I think when you meet people, it's not supposed to be about like they don't have to have a reason. It doesn't have to be a place where gay people would be, or where these people would be there. I think if you're just going with, hey, our show has 20 characters, one's probably gay, because there's quite a few, like in a space that's not segregated in any sort of way, you probably will meet a gay person. If you work in an office with 100 people, there's probably a gay person there. So I don't think it needs to be there, and it could be shoehorned in, and maybe based on the way that the show's going, you might not want your main characters to be gay or not gay. But I think that it's important to represent different groups in every single show. I think they should be represented in any show that has that's not it. That doesn't take place. Like I said, if it took place, if we're doing a show about a welding shop, maybe a gay person wouldn't be there, because it's a pretty tough, shitty world for someone who's any different to be in, and that's probably less likely to be represented in the real world. But I think in most places, you find all sorts of interesting people.
I know I want to get Zach in here on this, but in my opinion, that would be an ideal show to have something like that, because then you get to see how tough it is and how they have to, cope through it and live their lives through it. These are real things. We both know gay individuals, males and females. And, some of the horror stories that I've heard is just, it's crazy, some of the shit that these people go through. So I just feel, I think Tron already said it best. Sometimes in certain TV shows, you see it's just a check mark, and they never get any focus or attention, and so there they are for 45 seconds every episode, but they never get anything more. And I don't like that. Or, I mean, back in the 90s, you'd have an all-white TV show cast, and they'd have the one black cast member, and it's like you don't need that, because I'm not saying not to have it. You should have more of that if that's what you're looking for. And I don't know. It's just, I see so much out there now, and so much of it's toxic that it's frustrating. I feel like you can turn anything into something toxic today.
I think fan bases being toxic, I think, is really overstated, I guess. I think when you go on Facebook and you see a fan group of something, you are going to see the toxic people, but you're going to see the toxic people because the people who aren't toxic have something better to do. The people who are toxic are the people who are constantly on this group, and you see they've chatted in on every single thing. They've been on Facebook on every single post, and they're like, no this, no that, this is my opinion. And I think those types of people are the people who are hanging out on Facebook constantly telling people they're wrong. I think that, like, when I talk to people about Star Wars, and this is the biggest, I bring it up because this is our topic of conversation quite often. When I talk to people about the new Star Wars movies, I talk to my friends, and I have lots of friends who are into Star Wars. Some of them are like, I didn't really like that last one, or some of them are like, whatever. But none of them are like, oh, they fucking ruined Star Wars. This is the worst. Like, the Kathleen Kennedy is destroying everything. I know. I speak to 100 people who like Star Wars. I know, like, all of my friends grew up with Star Wars. We're all nerds. I'm a nerd, and all my friends were nerds. And most of them are totally cool with almost everything that happens in Star Wars. We talk about all the shows that we love. Sometimes they're like, I didn't really like that episode, but it was okay. The people who are like, this is the fucking dumbest thing ever. I'm pretending it didn't happen. I don't want this, blah, blah, blah. And they go on all crazy. I don't think there's that many people like that exist in real life. I think they're just the loudest people who spend all of their time on Facebook being a piece of shit, trying to ruin it for everyone.
I want to come back to the Star Wars thing in a second, but I want to give Zach a chance to catch up.
I've been thinking more than anything. It's not that I don't have anything to say. It's just that I've been trying to think of the right thing to say, because being in the South, it's still not as advanced as it needs to be. I've got a relative that moved away to Washington because basically nobody in our family accepted them for being gay. And they moved and started a new life and got married in Washington because they didn't feel like they'd be able to have that kind of life in Texas. And it fucking sucks. It does, because they're still family. And they don't need to be treated differently just because of who they want to date or get married to. And so it's a really different paradigm shift when I'm thinking about it in the way I experience things in reality, because I mean, Texas is basically a giant welding shop. There's going to be a lot of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant men that kind of dominate the TV market around here. You cannot go to a restaurant anywhere on a Sunday and not have the Dallas Cowboys playing. You're not going to have anything but the thing that appeals to those white Anglo-Saxon straight Protestant men that want to go there after they've done their token church visit on Sunday mornings. And so it's different in Texas. I do have friends and relatives that are gay. I have met a couple of trans people in my life, but they hide. They hide in Texas because they're not accepted.
The climate's definitely different here than it is there. Like, that's pretty well known.
I'm definitely sure of that. Like California, I've been out there a couple of times. People are way more free to express themselves and their individualities out there. Austin is almost like a separate entity of Texas, where you can have a little bit more freedom to express yourself, but it still feels kind of restricted, and you get side-eye looks and judgment and stuff like that. And so sometimes I worry that the way that I consume media is either a part of that culture that I was brought up in, or it's the exact opposite, and it's like a knee-jerk reaction in rebellion of what I was brought up in. Because I watch a lot of those white Anglo-Saxon Protestant shows like Friends. I mean, there's not a whole lot of diversity in Friends, if I'm being completely honest with you. But outside of, Ross's ex-wife being a lesbian, there's hardly any black characters in the show. It's just the diversity level is just plummets in a show like that. But then one of my other favorite shows is Grace and Frankie on Netflix. And the pilot of that show is literally like two law partners divorcing their wives so that they can have a gay marriage to each other. Like that's the premise of the show right off the bat. That is the lifestyle that they're trying to incorporate. And so it's really hard for me to strike a balance in that with the media that I consume, because sometimes it's very segregated, if that's what you want to call it, with friends, and then other times it's super inclusive, like Grace and Frankie. And to try and find that balance anywhere in between, I'll admit, is really tough to find. And the only show that I have found that actually does a good job of it is Star Trek Discovery, because it's built on the premise of having an ensemble cast that's part of the crew of this ship. You have multiple species, you have multiple races, multiple genders, multiple sexual orientations. There's a character in there that refers to themselves as they because they're non-binary. Like, it's about as progressive and inclusive as any show that I've seen. But for every show to be able to do that is extremely hard, because you don't have the writers that are capable of pulling it off. You may not have the right actors that are capable of pulling it off. You may not be reaching the right demographic the way you would try and pitch that show in Texas. It's not going to fly over the way that it would in California, Florida, New York, or parts of Toronto. It's just not. And so to try and achieve that in the way that media is being consumed right now, I feel like it's just a really, really tough challenge. I'm not saying that it's not worth the effort, but at the current state of things from where I'm living, I don't see it as a realistic and attainable goal right now. I think shows that are super inclusive, like Queer Eye, Schitt's Creek, Grace and Frankie, things like that, are great for those that are seeking that representation. But to expect all media across all platforms, it's a noble goal. I just don't know if I see it happening and being a success yet, because the Deep South, the Bible Belt, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, even the Carolinas, they're still super conservative, and they're not going to accept shows like that. And at the end of the day, it's about the dollar. And how much money can you make off of the advertisements? How much money can you make from the views and the streams and stuff? And so sometimes you have to have just a token character, because if you do anything beyond a token character, if you do anything beyond a check mark, then some of those consumers in that other market are going to shit face you for overdoing it. And so the check mark is the safest bet for some shows right now, because it says we're trying, but it also says, we hear you, white Anglo-Saxon conservative Protestants that live in the Deep South. You don't want anything more than the checkbox. Keep lining our pockets, please.
That's fair. That's fair. Speaking of controversial things, and a show that was pretty inclusive, we have a show coming up. I think it's a week yesterday. Is we're going to be recording our first episode of House of the Empire. And say what you want about Game of Thrones, but that cast is diverse, as is the representation in that show. And it'd be hard to match that. And some of the subject material that they deal with in that show, that I think, Zach, were you you were afraid to show your dad, right, because of some of the subject material, and then he ended up loving the show, right?
He ended up really liking it, and in spite of the subject matter that did involve, having gay lovers and some of the stuff Sir Loras was definitely not something that I thought he would be okay with. But I think what Game of Thrones was able to do was it tells other stories. It doesn't just tell that story. It tells you great action. It shows you other noble straight characters like Jon Snow. Like there's just enough of an ensemble cast, kind of like Star Trek Discovery. It's got enough of an ensemble cast that you can open the door for a Sir Loras storyline and a Jon Snow storyline, so that there's somebody for everybody to latch onto. Not every show's capable of having an ensemble cast that size, and let's be honest, hardly anybody's been able to match the writing of Game of Thrones.
No, Well, those people you were talking about also get to latch on to a giant dude who just runs around calling everybody cunt. So drinking beer and
Also
eating full chickens.
Yeah,
Also true.
yeah. There's a few characters in that show like that for sure.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about well, I don't, you can't really call it medieval ages because it doesn't take place on our own Earth, but if you're talking about something like that as uncivilized as that, you're gonna get all of those all of those meaner parts of life in there. So
Before we go back to Star Wars and then wrap this thing up, I just wanted to ask you guys. I don't know if you've seen, but Hollywood Report. I think it was Hollywood Reporter or Deadline. A couple weeks ago, ran like a big thing of like the top TV show, most anticipated TV shows for 2022. This kind of surprised me because of some of the backlash towards it, but number one was Game of Thrones: House of the Dragon, and that is the official title of the show now. Game of Thrones is in it. So
what's the
that
backlash?
we know what the backlash is. Come on. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it divided the fan base season 8. So
Oh, okay. I thought you meant something bad about this show.
I mean, I wouldn't know. For all we know, we could see the pilot and we could be like, oh my God, it was terrible. But
the dragon looked like it was from Reboot.
We're going to be recording some content here and then releasing it in bunches a little later on, a few months down the road. I'm just wondering where your guys' excitement level is for House of the Dragon, and if you think it can be anything close to Game of Thrones.
I mean, I can always hope, but I've also learned to set my expectations lower so that they get exceeded. Like that's just kind of been my norm. I go into a show and be like, this could be good, but I'm not going to expect it to be good. Because I think that was my problem with The Last Jedi, and not to try and tie it in too much to Star Wars just yet.
The Last Jedi's a fucking masterpiece. Get on with it.
I had super high expectations and hopes for the way things would go in The Last Jedi, and then got really pissed off when it didn't turn out that way. And so after that, like 2018 and beyond, I've tried not to have any, lofty goals for anything, so that whenever it happens, it turns out better than I hoped. And so far, that's worked out for me. A couple of times it hasn't, but for the most part, it has. And so I'm excited for, more Game of Thrones storylines. I'm excited to go back into that world. I'm excited to, see if there are any members of the Stark clan that are, in negotiations with members of House Targaryen. Like, there's definitely plenty more to explore. But if we're being honest, Sapochnik was better at fight sequences than he was at storytelling in Game of Thrones. And if he's one of the showrunners, then we can expect really, really great action sequences, but it does make me hesitate a little bit about the writing.
Understandable. I think so anyway.
I don't think that there's almost no chance that this can reach Game of Thrones levels, I think. And it's just because you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. I can't remember a spin-off show or one of those things that quite matched what the original had, unless the original was never really that big. If the original was that big and they wrote and they spun something off of it, what's really ever gotten over more?
What about The Next Generation?
You can say that, but the thing is that the original Star Trek was never popular in its original run. It was not popular. It only had 3 seasons, and then it went into syndication, and it got popular later, or grew really big in population later, which is why the Star Trek movies came way later, when they were all much older than they were in the
Star
show.
Trek movies came in response to the Star Wars movies. They saw how popular Wars was, and they wanted to answer.
Yeah, but Trek in its original run was never that popular. It got popular in syndication. I'm fairly sure that's true. I'm not going to argue about it because I don't have any facts over top of that, but I'm fairly sure that it was not that popular.
I'm just trying to think of franchises that ended up, more popular with the sequels and spin-offs, because without the original Trek, we wouldn't have Discovery today. We wouldn't have had Deep Space Nine. We wouldn't have had the three, Chris Pine movies that basically soft rebooted the franchise. Like, we wouldn't have all of the stuff that we've got from the Star Trek universe if we didn't have those first 3 seasons.
I think it's a lot easier to go and say, hey, this movie sequel is better than the original, or this spin-off movie is better than the original. I think it's a lot harder to do that with TV. Like, I just spent like the last 2 minutes trying to come up with a spin-off TV show, not a sequel, a spin-off, that was better than the original, and I legitimately can't come up with one.
I feel like there's a sitcom, Frasier.
Okay, Frasier, I would agree with that.
Frasier, I feel like, was more successful than even Cheers was.
I like Frasier more than Cheers, but I don't know if I would say it. I like Cheers is like a top 10 popular show of all time, I think, and I don't know if Frasier is that.
I enjoyed Frasier.
I like Frasier much better, but
far more than I enjoyed Cheers. There's no contesting that Cheers is considered a classic, but as far as like the popularity goes, I feel like Frasier won more awards than Cheers did. Like, I think Frasier won a lot of primetime Emmys and stuff like that, and I don't know if Cheers achieved quite as much critical acclaim as Frasier did.
I'm not sure about that. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is I think that Game of Thrones caught the entire, like, everyone who really would be into that sort of thing, like everyone who would really be into the Lord of the Rings type of vibe, you know, the HBO shows, and everyone who's fans of those things, I think it caught all them, but it also caught fire and just general audience people, just people who had to know, like, why are so many people talking about this show? I think it caught all that. But I think if you go and tell someone like, hey, the Game of Thrones, the new Game of Thrones show is on, I think a lot of those general people will be like, yeah, I saw that Game of Thrones thing. It was, I don't think it can catch as much of that, like, really general audience, like that just the every person. I don't think it can catch those people by surprise like it did before.
I don't know if I'm sorry. I don't know if surprise is really the element that a spin-off show is going to go for, though. I think it's supposed to be riding the momentum of what it's spinning off from and being able to help, like, carry certain momentum that's already been built. So, I mean, I don't expect it to be like 110% when Game of Thrones was 100, but even if it's, I would say 70% of what Game of Thrones was, I think a lot of people are still going to be satisfied with the storytelling and the action sequences.
I could say 70%.
Let's not forget, this is a studio that somehow spent $70 to $80 million on a pilot episode for the Long Night TV series. It had a different name, but it took place, like, I think it was 1,000 years before the events of Game of Thrones. Bran the Builder, the creation of the wall, that stuff was going to be in it. And they scrapped it after the pilot episode because they didn't think it was going to come anywhere close to living up to the Game of Thrones name. And they immediately greenlighted the Targaryen show because, let's be honest, if it's not Peter Dinklage or Tyrion and Jon Snow, people are going and obsessed about Daenerys and the dragons. And if you're a big dragon person, like a Dungeons and Dragons type thing, and you just love seeing dragons on screen, then this show is probably gonna blow your mind with the amount of dragons you're gonna see. The question is, how much is too much? We know there's like 20 of them around at this point, and all heavily involved with the show.
If they're slowly introduced properly, it'll be fine. If there's 20 dragons at the start, and you got to remember the one that's kind of pinkish is this one, and the kind that's kind of got like a little bit of an orange hue on its claws is this one, that's going to be fucked up and really hard to follow.
I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I believe the pilot episode, and I think they've already talked about this a bit publicly, and if you take the stills from the trailer that was released, sorry, let me adjust my mic. if you look at the stills that came out for the trailer, I believe episode number 1 is like oh man, what's the name of the huge dragon skull down below the keep? Is it Balerion the Dread?
I think it's Balerion. Yeah.
I believe it's his funeral. I believe that's where we're starting the show. Is so you won't get to see him in action. You'll see everybody else in action, but I think that's a pretty cool, like just like lore callback, being like, hey, have you seen Game of Thrones? You've seen the skull. Here he is. You know, I think that's a really good starting point.
What force of nature would be able to kill Balerion the Dread? That's what I want to know.
I
Time?
don't know. Time. It could be a time thing.
Yeah, maybe.
But you would think a dragon would live.
Father Time is undefeated.
That's true. So yeah, no, we got that coming up, and I'm really excited to talk about that and dive back into Game of Thrones. I think we're recording an episode on Monday, and then another one on February the 7th. So I want to watch season 1 again before February the 7th, and just have it fresh. And I don't know, I fucking love that show. I think it's the most rewatchable TV show ever made. There's just so much you catch on it every time. It's great.
Contrary to my point earlier.
Oh, what's that?
If we ever make a Fandom Empire coin, we'll be on the opposite sides.
Oh, okay.
I said that Game of Thrones, Sons of Anarchy, Bad Batch, or not Bad Batch, Breaking Bad were all my top 3 shows of all time, but the rewatchability is like I'll rewatch them 2, maybe 3 times. I'm not rewatching those shows 5, 10 times. Like it's not going to happen.
That's right.
I didn't think they were.
The addendum that I threw in during the live episode was that I may not, restart it as soon as I finish it, but whenever I do rewatch it, it's hard to get me to stop.
Yeah.
I'll watch anywhere from 2 to 4 episodes a day and just binge the thing in, a couple of weeks. So
I think Game of Thrones would be the one out of the 3 of those that I could do it more often, but I don't think, like, I went through Breaking Bad again and I loved it, but I was like, it's just too fucking low. Like, bad things just happen too often with nothing good happen. It's like, it's kind of a mood affector, that show.
Well, it also helps that Game of Thrones only has 73 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, it's not harder to get. It's not as hard to get through.
If you're doing, 2 episodes a day, you're done in just over a month.
Yeah, well, like my last watch through, my goal was to watch 1 episode a day. And I think there's 4 or 5 times where I ended up with 2 episodes on the day, and then I took a break, the day after. But basically, in the span of 3 months, I watched 73 episodes of Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
And I was trying to just take it a day at a time, but it's really hard. Like, that's the type of series where even if you're rewatching an episode, in my opinion, it's like, oh, I really want to see the next episode because I know what happens and I just want to see it again. Or if you're just watching it for the first time, it's, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next episode. How's Ned Stark going to get out of this one?
Oh man,
Happened
too soon.
Book of Boba Fett, guys. I know you guys talked a little bit about it earlier, but we have episode 4 dropping in 3.5 hours.
Oh God,
Is it 11:30? What the fuck?
It's 11:30.
10:30 here. What?
I'm just kind of curious, and I think Kieran's really enjoyed it. And Zach, you thought episode 3 was the best. Do we think the show has found its groove yet, or do we think even this is the problem when you only have 6 or 7 episodes in a season is you don't really have time to find a groove if you haven't found it early, right? So are we gonna see just 4 crazy, insane episodes? I think Boba Fett's been a little too good of a guy here this entire time. I feel like they're building up to the big him snapping moment and basically killing everybody around him. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Any predictions on the rest?
I don't think it's going to move that fastly paced. I think it's going to build to a crescendo, of course. I mean, that's kind of just natural storytelling to have probably a ramped up episode 6 and then a final moment and a aftermath in the last episode, maybe, unless they're going to directly lead into another show or I don't know. Book of Boba Fett's only supposed to be one season, correct?
No, I think they're going to do
No?
more. I think
Okay, well then it might lead into whatever the next season's about. I don't think it's going to go crazy or anything really big. I don't think the next 4 episodes are going to be so fastly paced or anything like that. I think there'll be more chapters in the tale of Boba Fett. I think at the end he'll definitely be the hailed ruler of Mos Espa, but then there's going to be another threat around the corner.
I think this episode finished with enough interest that it could pick up in episode 4. I would kind of agree with Sean that it hasn't picked up exactly all that much yet, but that's because they've been doing so much backstory. And so I feel like as long as they're able to, keep the focus on the progression of the story that's moving forward, rather than splitting time 50-50 with a whole bunch of flashbacks and stuff, then it definitely has the potential to like pick up, particularly in this episode 4. But I also feel like it could pull what Mandalorian did in season 1, where it's kind of got like a 2-part finale. And it'll leave us on a cliffhanger at the end of 6, and then gets resolved / aftermath in 7. So 4 and 5 are still going to be a little bit slower paced. They're still going to be character driven. They're still going to have build up and assembling the army and stuff like that to get ready for war. And then 6 and 7 will be the actual big stuff, tough decisions, nitty gritty cliffhanger type of stuff that we've been hoping for this whole time, and we're only going to get it for 2 episodes.
I don't know if how do I put this? I don't know if the flashbacks are going to be 50-50 going forward, but I do know there's more of them because we've seen some of the shots in the trailer that we still haven't seen yet. And so like I think they're insistent on doing this Arrow-like thing where they go back and they have the flashbacks, and the problem is, again, and this is my issue. I know people tell me not to get upset about it, but like you can't do what they're doing properly, in my opinion, with 7 30-minute episodes. Well, we don't know it's 7 30-minute episodes because we had one 53-minute episode, but in reality, the other 2 episodes were 30 minutes. And if you're going to spend half your time back and half your time current, you run out of story to tell. Or sorry, you don't have enough time to tell the story. So I would hope that the flashbacks are limited. That would be my thing. I want to see what happens in current time. Although I'll say this, they need to up the budget on these shows big time. This is not cinematic Star Wars. This would not look like cinematic Star Wars on the big screen. And we were promised that from the beginning. It will still be cinematic quality, and it's just not happening. Say what you want about The Last Jedi. I'm not a fan. But you look at how that fucking movie is shot, and it is absolutely fucking stunning. And none of Mando or Book of Boba are anywhere close to that. And it's like, this is supposed to be Star Wars. Are we ever going to get the fuck off, Tatooine? Like, we're going to go to Kenobi, and guess where most of Kenobi's going to be, for at least for the beginning part.
Oh, hey, that sounds like Return of the Jedi. Are we ever going to get off of fucking Tatooine? Guess where we are in the 3rd movie? Fucking Tatooine.
I disagree with everything Sean just said.
Guess where we are in The Force Awakens? Tatooine 2.0. Star Wars just has a sand fetish, dude. Get used to it.
I just want to see more space. Like, let's see more space. Let's go to
Why?
space. Because it's Star Wars.
Yeah. We've seen plenty of space in the rest of Star Wars. This is different.
Really? I must have slept through all the space we've seen during The Mandalorian season 1 and 2. There's a little bit of it, but there's not much.
Well, but he goes to a lot of different planets.
Yeah, but I mean like the actual space combat.
Oh, well, we were supposed to get that with that Patty Jenkins movie. Fucking. That's where all the space is. That's not happening now.
I'll say that Mando did the little space sequence they had where they fight there, and the way they shot it, how they used to do it in the OT. That was cool.
Yeah.
All of the sequel trilogy shit bothers the fuck out of me in space. It looks corny and cheesy, and The Rise of Skywalker is the worst for it because it's like, here's a 10 billion ships here, here's 10 billion ships there. Now pretend it's important.
Yeah, that was the worst part of that whole movie, was the fact that all the ships were up there, and then the Emperor was just like, ah! And then they were like, you could do that. Well, fuck. Like, why is anybody even fighting him?
I don't know if you guys seen Star Wars first, like A New Hope, before any of the other ones. But for me, I seen A New Hope like 10 times before I ever seen anything else. And the Battle of Yavin sequence is just, like, to me, that is perfect cinema. Like, that is just fucking incredible. And then Return of the Jedi, it's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but the space sequence in there, mind-blowingly good. Everything with the Falcon in Empire. The prequel trilogy doesn't have too much good space stuff. But the battle over Coruscant and Revenge of the Sith is really good, and so is the dogfight between Kenobi and Jango. And it's like, I'm sorry, we got none of that in the sequel trilogy outside of Rogue One, which is part of it. Rogue One was really good for that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely like I know that the space battles and things like that are actually really important to me. It's okay that they're not in these shows. That doesn't bother me at all, because I've never thought of Jango Fett as Boba Fett as he flies Slave One, but it's not like he's not like an X-wing pilot to me. I'm not really worried about seeing him fight anybody in space.
I'm gonna sound
if it comes up, that'd be great, but I don't think it's not essential to me. Return of the Jedi was the first movie that I saw, and it was probably the first 100 Star Wars movies that I saw, because I didn't know any other Star Wars movie existed as a child. I thought it started at episode 6, and then someone told me that was dumb, but then I found out it started at episode 4, so I was like, how is that any dumber? But anyways, obviously I was like, up until I was like 10 when I first saw the other movies. But I don't know. I don't have problems with the pacing. I love the flashbacks. I think they're amazing. I'd like to see how he got where he is. It's just important to me as the story that's going on in the real timeline to me.
You know why I think Zach didn't like the first 2 episodes? I'm sure there's other reasons for it, but I thought you might not like them, man. Before I ever knew your opinion, I thought you might not like them, because in my opinion, I don't hate anything about Book of Boba Fett so far, except for the duration. I feel like everything's being crunched. But I was also expecting it. The first 2 episodes play out almost like you're playing Knights of the Old Republic, and you're walking around to talk to this gang. It's like, oh no, now we need to walk over here and talk to this gang, and like that is literally the first 2 episodes. I'm like, I bet Zach's not gonna like this. And I've seen that comparison made by a lot of other people, actually, and I don't know if you picked up on that, but I'm assuming that's not going to help your ability on liking it.
I mean, it doesn't encourage me to go try Knights of the Old Republic.
He'd probably like it if there was some fucking dinosaurs in there or something.
I mean, have him ride around on a dewback, and I might appreciate it a little bit more. I don't know, but it's about the pacing and the storytelling, and it's I don't think it has anything to do with what it reminds me of. It's what it doesn't do for me more than what it does do for me. And what it doesn't do is show me what happens next. The first 2 episodes spend more time showing me about what happened previously rather than what's coming up. The encounter that he has with the twins in the streets of Mos Espa in the second episode were awesome. And then he goes to take a fucking nap in the Bacta tank, and the whole rest of the episode is about his nap. I don't give a fuck about your nap. If I wanted to watch somebody taking a nap, I'd put a camera on myself and go to sleep for 4 hours. I don't care about your fucking nap.
Doesn't his back tank look a little weird? I've never seen one that looks quite like his, being flat down like that.
I mean, vertical, horizontal. It just
He-
depends on the maker, I suppose.
He couldn't get the vertical installment. It cost more.
Mostly-
You know what? The only thing, something that hasn't been brought up, and it's not a big problem for me. I hate when I hate how Star Wars has hand-to-hand fighting, where that Black Chrysanthemum or whatever punches someone with a big metal spiked thing, and there's no blood or whatever. Like, that would kill you. You can't punch someone with a giant, with the power of a Wookiee, basically the power of a fucking bear, with brass knucks on, with spikes on them. That you can't punch someone without them dying. They should. So they should never have that. They should never be like, oh yeah, he hits him in the bat. You know why nobody just home run swings, hits someone in wrestling with a bat? Because you'd fucking kill them. So you always have to hit them in the stomach or do this, because it's not realistic. You can't have someone as strong as a Wookiee punch someone with a metal weapon and them not die. And really what happens instead is someone flies 15 feet away and then they get back up and keep fighting.
I actually totally agree with you with this one. I think it's a Disney thing. There's been a little bit of blood in Star Wars before Disney and during Disney. I can think when Kylo Ren got hit by Chewbacca and he starts hammering at the wound, and you see oh wow, he's really bleeding under there as he's getting ready to fight Finn.
Love that part.
It's great continuity too, because it's oh well, how the fuck would Finn ever stand a chance against Kylo? Well, the guy's bleeding to death, and
he's fucking
clear in the novel too.
He got a bowcaster to the hip, he shouldn't even be standing.
Yeah, so I liked that, but there's no reason that there shouldn't have been blood there. If you're gonna put that stuff in it, have some blood. You don't need to be decapitating people left and right, but have some blood. Either you're going to look to mature the story a bit. I mean, this is the perfect series for it, or get rid of the fucking spikes and don't use them at all.
I expected one of the gangsters or one of the two Gamorreans, and neither of them died.
Yeah.
Gamorreans are notoriously hard to kill. They're the bodyguards of Star Wars, though.
Yeah, I know, but there's two of them, so that makes one of them expendable.
They're like when you see rappers and they have the entourage and there's the one guy that's their bodyguard, but he's just super super fucking fat, huge. It's because that's like a permanent vest. You could stab them and you'd never get to the vital stuff because they're just so fat, and that's why bodyguards are like that. And that's what those Gamorreans are like. You can't kill them.
Just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, sorry.
I was talking about fat dudes.
The thing, yeah. The thing
there's actually a Bible story about that. I read this in one of my Sunday school classes one time. There was a dude that was sent to assassinate this morbidly obese king, and he just brought a dagger with him. He got an audience with the king, tried to stab him, and the dagger got absorbed by the king's fat, and it didn't kill him.
And then I'm guessing he got killed.
I think he escaped through the toilet system.
Okay, interesting.
I'm upset that I missed Bible study when I was young. Now
the king's palace had an elaborate plumbing system, and he went down one of the shitholes. I think that's what happened.
That's hilarious. The thing I mentioned about the space battles earlier, interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be made to look like an idiot either this episode or next episode, because I do know there's some aerial combat coming, and it's going to give a big nod to prequel fans, so be on the lookout for that. I won't say
I know what's going to happen.
So, and then Tamara Morrison just keeps wanting to spoil episode 7. Every interview he's in, he's like, well, you might think it's slow now, but wait till you see episode 7. It's going to be mind-blowing. And Ming-Na Wen is always just like, shut up, you're saying too much. And in the interview, so it's cool. I'm thinking that they're going to do what the end of Mando season 2 did, and someone from some Star Wars space is going to appear at the end.
Oh man, quickly. I mean, I don't know how quickly we want to be on this, but I watched. I was building my Star Wars. We got a whole bunch of Star Wars paper puzzles. They're like I don't know. You put together. I was putting together the Death Star the other day, and we're watching Empire Strikes Back, and Boba Fett speaks, and it's the Timora Morrison voice instead. I hated it so much because and I don't know why. I don't hate his voice at all. I think he does a spectacular job. It's fine. But it was one of those things where I've seen this movie a million times and I expected it to happen the way I did before. And then when it came in, his voice was like, what, did they just erase this other guy's career? I don't know if the other guy was in a lot of things. Like, what the hell? Like, why take whatever that guy is most famous for in his entire life and get rid of it? Like, I don't get it. I don't get why they have to do that.
Thoughts, Zach? Anything? No.
No, none. I think it's just a continuity thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Moon Knight is what? March debut?
Yeah.
Well, I think to me, this is leading up to Kenobi on May the 4th. So.
Well, I mean, they're both set on Tatooine, so there's got to be some kind of connection, right?
So.
Moon Knight?
No, Boba.
Boba is on Tatooine, yeah. Kenobi, we know just from the concept art that they officially released that they leave Tatooine for somewhere else. So we know at least we're getting some space travel. I also think the production quality for Kenobi, though, is going to be a lot higher than what we've got to see for Mando and Book of Boba, just because they've treated it differently. They're treating it differently in the marketing. It's a limited series. It's only 6 episodes long. Even though they keep telling us that each one's going to be an hour, I'm not expecting it. They'll probably be like, here's 40 minutes. Here's 50 minutes. Here's 32 minutes. I don't know. But
here's 43 minutes of content and 17 minutes of credits.
Yeah.
Because here's what Kenobi sounds like in Portuguese, and this is what his voice sounds like in Korean, and this is the credits for whatever.
I like what Ken said here. I did notice this one. It looked like Boba got his spine broken in episode 3, but then is fine after the attack. Yeah, I noticed that.
Back to tank's a hell of a drug.
Maybe he's got some sort of special adaptations or enhancements or something. I don't know.
This will be the last question, and we'll get out of here. Chosen Nightwolf asks, how do you think the Acolyte will do when it comes out?
So that's longtime IPC listener George. That's his YouTube username.
Oh,
yeah. It's a great name. Great name, by the way. I think the Acolyte will do well with those who read the High Republic novels. And for anybody that isn't up to speed on the High Republic, they may not enjoy it quite as much.
I think the Acolyte, though, is being set 50 years before the Phantom Menace. So it's much closer to the events of the original trilogy than it is the Acolyte books. But obviously, you're going to want to follow the Acolyte books. I'm curious how this is going to be. Like, we've never really gotten, anyways, not that I can think of, Star Wars content from the other perspective. You know?
It might. I mean, it is going to be. I mean, people who read the High Republic, myself included, are super excited about having a TV show, even though it's super far off and might be more of a bridge. Like you're saying, it's 50 years before our known cinematic universe, and so it might be more of a bridge and not exactly just High Republic stuff. We don't know what it's going to be like, but it's more likely going to have a lot to do with the dark side and part of the Sith and part of those things that every Star Wars fan is going to want to know about. So I think it's probably going to do really well. I think it's going to involve the rise of the Sith back to where they are when they're when they're coming into Palpatine's reign. So I think it's going to be something that even High Republic fans are going to be a big fan of. But I think if we have anything to do with the Sith in the limelight, it's going to be a very popular show.
So I'm going to be on the other side of the coin and say that this is the biggest risk that Star Wars has taken with its programming, and it has the highest potential to flop. And here's why. Because as far as programming content goes, this is the farthest removed from anything from the name Skywalker that any of their programming has ever been. Being 50 years before the Phantom Menace, nothing that Lucas has produced, whether it's George Lucas or Disney Lucas, nothing has ever been produced this far removed from the name Skywalker.
I know there's a lot of hints though that we might get to see Plagueis in this, and then eventually young Palpatine. And while it's not Skywalker, it definitely does help connect to that, and I'm okay with doing them doing that. However, I totally agree that this is the riskiest of their projects that they have. But I really hope it pans out.
I mean, we can hope all we want, but I don't think a Plagueis Palpatine connection is going to be enough for the casual viewers. I think Mando Season 2's fan service bringing in a CGI Luke Skywalker proves that Disney Lucas does not feel like a show can stand on its own 2 feet. They brought in a legacy character like Luke Skywalker to pander to the Skywalker movie-going fans to draw them into their show. Mando, in my opinion, was doing fine on its own and didn't need Luke to show up in the season 2 finale. But now that they have done that, they have asserted themselves as not confident that a franchise will do okay without something that's a big name like that. Kenobi is going to involve protecting Luke to a certain degree. Luke shows up in Mando. Rogue One has a Princess Leia cameo at the end, and it basically revolves around A New Hope. Solo, revolves around Han Solo. Like, The Bad Batch is set around Clone Wars legacy characters, which is set close to Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker. Everything that they have produced is very, very tight-knit, focused, and even loosely related to or directly shows a Skywalker in some capacity. 7, 8, 9's got Skywalkers in it. The Acolyte's not going to have much of anything like that. And unless you're appealing to like these super hardcore fans that have read the Plagueis book, even a young Palpatine cameo may not be enough to make this a popular franchise.
I think there's some stuff there that definitely makes sense. I think they are afraid to step off the the diving board, if you will, and do something that has no attachment to anything. Because think about it, even the High Republic, maybe not the Acolyte, but like the game that's being made that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It like you have Yoda. Yoda's alive for how long? Like 900 years. So unless you're going to go way back or go way forward, it feels like that they have set themselves up to always try to have some sort of draw from what they've already done. And I don't necessarily think that's the best idea in terms of creating good content.
Hell, Frank Oz is still doing puppeteer and voiceover work. It wouldn't surprise me if Yoda showed up in The Acolyte.
Well, he could. Yeah, actually, that wouldn't surprise me at all. He actually did the voice in the High Republic VR game for Yoda, which was pretty cool because they easily could have got someone else to do it.
If he's still that involved in the franchise, then yeah, like being 50 years before the Phantom Menace, if you're not getting somebody named Skywalker, then you better get somebody like Yoda who is just instantly recognizable to the casual viewers.
It's not like they shoehorn him in there because he's the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. It's not like they can be like, yeah, he wasn't there. I mean, he's not really the center of anything in the High Republic. He's part of a comic book and he disappears pretty quickly. And I think I've seen him or heard about him once or twice in the High Republic, but he is there and he is the Grand Master You know, he's well. There's other grandmasters now, but
that's not a visual component like the other franchises I was talking about. Like it's a book for the hardcore fans, but stuff that's going to get produced on Disney Plus is stuff that if it's got the name Star Wars attached to it, you're going to be drawing in every type of crowd from those that.
Did we lose audio? Hello, Kieran, do you got me?
yeah, I still hear you.
I think we lost Zach's audio.
Hello?
Yeah, I didn't know what he was talking about, anyways.
You hear now? Oh no, I'm hang on.
I am getting like echoes and stuff now.
How about now?
I hear you. I don't hear Zach.
You sound fine.
Oh, I hear Zach now.
Okay, that was weird. I was getting so much freaking echo in my headset. I think they're going to put. This is a prediction. I've not read any spoilers. I don't even know if they're out there. At least like full on spoilers. I could see them doing Yoda in Kenobi, and Obi-Wan going to Dagobah, and them talking. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how this would work, but it'd be kind of cool to see Obi-Wan end up on Dagobah with Kid Luke, but it'd be kind of like, well, no, Luke can't really leave Tatooine, and I'm just going back to the line in Empire where he's like,
Oh,
like,
there's
oddly familiar. Yeah, it'd be
familiar about this place. Yeah.
I suppose, though, just the presence of it from when they would have dropped Yoda off when they were going to separate the twins, they would have at least had to have entered the atmosphere to get Yoda's escape pod down. But I don't know. Deep pull. Anyways, guys, any final thoughts about any fandom-related things before we get out of here for the night? And I want to thank Zach again for stepping up and doing this. I didn't even have to ask you, man. You just came to me and offered, and that meant a lot because the last 2 days have sucked.
Yeah, man. Happy to help out. I mean, I finished my schoolwork stuff in December, so my evenings have been a little more free. I didn't see anything on the calendar. Probably gonna have to make it up to the fiance and take her on a date tomorrow night, but that's fine. So yeah, happy to have been here. Thanks for trusting me with your show, and hopefully you'll be good to go next week.
That's the plan. And Kieran and I should have a Star Wars show next week. So
yeah. Honestly, good couple of shows tonight. I like. I actually didn't know where the stream was going, but I'm very happy that we got to talk about these important issues, and you know, even when we're on the opposite side of the fence with all the, you know, it's good because we have good, healthy conversation and we learn things from each other. So I think it's great that we were able to do this. And the show earlier I thought was great, and I'd also like to thank Zach and stepping up and doing a good job hosting. Your segues are great. Yeah, it was a good night. It was a fun night.
I can't wait to do it again next week and talk Star Wars for like 45 minutes to an hour, where it's like an exclusive Star Wars show again. So that's going to be interesting. And then we have Fandom Empire Live following that.
Right. Never forget when you met me. It was because I was doing a Star Wars show, and you're like, "I'm doing a Star Wars show. You want to be on my Star Wars show too?" Like,
we kind of inadvertently crossed paths as I was exiting a football pool that you went in, but
yeah. But like I never, you know, I never would have done any of this if it wasn't for wanting to do a Star Wars show. That's what I was like, cool. You know, with with my sister, and we were just like, hey, let's do a Star Wars show. And then it was like, you know what, we can also be on this other Star Wars show.
I just remembered something. Sorry, I wanted to say this earlier when I said let's come back to Star Wars, and I'm glad I did remember it. Almost too late though. If someone doesn't like something that you love, you know, for example, and Zach and I don't like The Last Jedi, Kieran loves it. This should go to anybody out there. You don't need to worry about if someone else loves it or hates it. It's cool that you might be interested in what other people think, but the only thing that should matter to you is how much you loved it or didn't like it. Because at the end of the day, you're not responsible for anyone else's viewing pleasure. You're responsible for your own. And look, hey, do I like the direction Lucasfilm's headed at times lately with Star Wars? No, but no way would The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker, or the Resistance TV show that just looked like trash. That would never ever ruin the way I felt about like the first time I seen The Empire Strikes Back. Like nothing like that, and nothing either of you or anyone else out there can say anything that would ever ruin my enjoyment of that, just because it's, hey, this is what I love. You don't like it, cool. And I just wish more people took that stance instead of being so worried about, oh well, I need to be justified with my opinion, and I need to make you agree with me. And it's cool. It's okay to be on the opposite side of things. Love. I think there's a line in The Last Jedi towards the end of it. It doesn't fit at all in terms of where they put it, but love what you love. Don't worry about hating shit. Just love what you love. And if you don't like something, great, and you can voice your opinion about it. But don't get mad at, I can't get mad at Kieran because he loves The Last Jedi. That's something passionate for him, and I envy him that he gets to love it. I don't. But I also love other stuff like Gerald's Game. What a just brilliant. No, I'm kidding. But like, just love what you love. Don't let someone else's opinion of you ever ruin the incredible experiences that you had. Like, I remember seeing the A New Hope space battle for the first time and being just mind blown as a kid. Like, oh my God, what am I watching? I need action figures. I need to like do my own story with this. Or even the first time I watched Halloween, I watched 1, 2, and 4 on that night. And yeah, a lot of people don't like those movies. That's cool. But for whatever, that night is one of the best nights I've ever had in my life. It's like a top 20 night for me. And no amount of hate that those movies get would ever make me change how I feel about that. And I wish more people would think along those lines, because I do think it would help them, their mental health out, just when it comes to fandom stuff. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Oh, it totally makes sense. It's for people to put so much energy into trashing something is just bringing so much negative into your life, and it's just not worth it. Like like if you want to argue about, if me and Sean want to come over here and say The Last Jedi was good because of this or Last Jedi was bad because of that, that's fine. But like, if you're gonna like go ahead and be like, you know what, like this movie sucks, the whole thing shouldn't have been, and blah blah blah, and the director was terrible, and blah blah blah. If you want to go on every day on Facebook and log on and say this is how it sucks and this is why it's bad or whatever, you're wasting your life. Like that's just a waste of time to go and just hate on things constantly. It affects your mood. It affects your life. It's not a way, like, it's not a way to spend your life. Spend your life enjoying the things that you like. And then when you see something you don't like, because you will come across movies and shows that you don't like, you can be like, I don't like it, and here's why. And you can talk to your friends about it, but there's no point in just constantly talking about how shitty things are, because that's going to take over your life. It's going to take over your mood. It's going to affect your mental health.
One person's shit's another person's gold.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't understand why people spend so much time. Even when I talk about how much I hate Boba Fett and how much I hate Darth Maul, like, that's not a real thing. I don't really hate those characters and like want anybody who likes those characters to die or whatever. I'm quite enjoying the Book of Boba Fett. I put it into it because I love it and I think it's funny, and I do have those opinions about the reasons those characters are around. But like, I'm not gonna, if I really hate something, I'm not gonna spend my life talking about how shitty it is.
I don't even know if I hate The Last Jedi. Like, if I'm being real, I mean, I obviously hated it when I first seen it, but for me, it's like, I think I just hate the fact that my expectations were just insanely high for the movie, and I firmly believe, just as a fan, that storytelling wise it didn't make sense to me, and I'm frustrated because of that, and it didn't go the way that I would have wanted it to go. And that seems like extremely selfish, but I feel like that happens with a lot of fans and a lot of different fandoms. Game of Thrones, same example, season 8. Somehow people are convinced they never seen signs of Dany going bad, and it's like, I don't know what fucking show you watched.
Well, I hate Harry Potter. I hate Harry Potter. I don't like any of it. I don't like any of the movies. I don't like anything from, like, I just don't like them. I don't like watching them for longer than 5 minutes. But when someone brings up Harry Potter, I'm like, I'm not a big fan of Harry Potter, and I don't like Harry Potter. Oh, I might make a stupid joke about it or whatever. Like, I'm like, oh, you bunch of wand wavers or whatever. But I don't go on and on about it. I don't devote time into like how bad it is. I don't, I'm not gonna go on another. I'm not gonna go on a Harry Potter fan website and talk about how bad it is. When someone brings it up, I'm like, yeah, Harry Potter sucks, and that's all. That's the amount of attention I'm gonna give to it. Like,
and yet Harry Potter has like fans all over the world. I know
oh yeah,
Europe back.
It's a terrific fandom. And yeah, I know lots of people who love it and whatever. I don't bother them because they love it. People tell me they love it. I might be like, oh yeah, it sucks, but I'm glad that you love it, and it's got a really cool fandom and all sorts of awesome lore and books and things, and it's great for those people.
Zach?
Anyways.
I mean, it was never for me. I watched all the movies so that we could review them on IPC, and I mean, I tried to give it a fair and honest rating, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not even like a top 10 sci-fi franchise for me. Like, I never was brought up on it. I never saw the appeal, so I wouldn't say that it sucks. I would just say that it's not for me.
It sucks.
I never wanted to give it a chance, and then Jade got pregnant with Jensen, and I had promised her that I'd watch the movies, and so like it ended up happening, and I was so reluctant. In the first movie, I really like. Have you guys ever seen Halloween Town?
No.
Okay, well, it's like a Family Channel movie, and I had to kind of look at it like that because it's kind of how the first movie comes off. The first couple of movies kind of come off like Family Channel movies. Not that they're all bad, but I ended up like being way more into it and enjoying it way more than I ever would have thought possible. Is it a top 10 franchise for me? No, definitely not. But like, I never thought I would get any enjoyment out of it. And I thought, oh, wow, that was time well spent. That was cool. I don't know when I'll watch it again, but that was cool.
Yeah, kind of a one and done thing to say that I've done it. Check it off the list. Move on.
For sure. Yeah, sorry, Zach. Apologies. Anyways, that is gonna do it for us. Thanks for this, guys. This went way longer than I intended, but it's good to get out there and just express yourself and vent. And this is definitely the most I've talked in 48 hours. So thank you.
Just couldn't stay away, eh, Sean? I knew you were faking it. I said you were faking it on air.
Totally. Yeah, I heard you, asshole. Don't bring bad karma to the Bucks, man. Don't do it. Anyways, we'll see you guys next. What's the next IPC? What do you guys got coming up in a week and a half or so?
Yeah, a week and a half. It's Spider-Man, finally.
No Way Home.
Cool. We've been kind of holding off because there were some listeners that hadn't gotten around to seeing it yet, and it's been delayed in Norway, and we got some Norwegian listeners that wanted to review it with us. So I think we're finally doing No Way Home, and then by the time the next episode after that happens, Boba Fett will be done. So Spider-Man and Boba Fett, next 2 episodes for us.
Super quick story here as we go off. I don't know if you guys seen it, but Andrew Garfield, who used to co-star and be with Emma Stone. Emma Stone, when the rumors about Garfield came out, would like text him and bug him about it now and then. And he would just be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. No, it's just, online bullshit. And so that happened 3 or 4 times. He was adamant. And then I guess she went and seen the movie. And that night he got a text being like, you're a jerk. So that was neat. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for us. IPC is next Friday. Star Wars Fandom Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, followed by Phantom Empire Live. And if you're a night owl, Book of Boba Fett comes out in under 3 hours' time. Have a good night. Be safe and take it easy.